1, 2, 3. On va bientôt commencer. Bienvenue au public qui est sur YouTube. Welcome to the audience listening on YouTube channel. Hello, Masaki, are you online?
Hello.
Hello, hello, Masaki. Thank you.
You are Frederick.
Yeah, Frédéric and
Hello, how are you?
Jean-Marie.
Hello, Masaki, this is Jean-Marie. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And you? Are you fine?
Fine too. Super.
Okay, we are very happy to welcome you on this channel for the seminar called Creative Media. We've organized with the participation of the University of Monterrey, Technological of Monterrey. And so for us, it's an honor to have you now. And so perhaps I let you introduce yourself, and we could now begin. We are also, I welcome all the listeners on YouTube, and let's get started, Masaki.
Sorry. My name is Masaki FUJIHATA. I live in Tokyo now. But I did several different projects in this 5-6 years. Today I'm going to show 3 different projects. The first one will be anyhow. I've been working in the so-called media art field. What can I say? I also have been teaching at the art school in Tokyo, but after I retired from the university, I went to several different universities, also in Europe and Hong Kong and Los Angeles. And also I've been researching a lot about the possibility of augmented reality. I think it had to start from in the year 2014, 15. So I'm going to share my screen.
Good, very good. We see all the picture.
Okay. As you know, we are using, as you know, the desktop metaphor, which is the common interface for the computer now. But I've been believing augmented reality can take over from the desktop to this, how can I say, 3D space. And there are many interesting possibilities which was not developed yet. Then the first one, I'm going to show the book of my archive, which was produced by Anne-Marie Duguay. I spent quite a long time with her to compile most of my project and art pieces into a format of a book. But also, I have to include many video documents. Then we use the augmented reality. Yeah, this is a series of an archive. Mine was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th edition was my book. And not only showing the video, but also I experimented to reconstruct some of installation as a 3D model, and people can interact with the 3D model by using augmented reality. So I want to show you the video.
This is an unusual book titled An Archive Number 6, Masaki FUJIHATA. It comes with binder, contains 6 different booklets. Each one describes each different topics or each artworks. It looks like a regular book, but it's beyond physical book. Whole book contains over 60 video clips, and here this is a very long accordion fold paper, and this listing chronological order all of my artworks from the year 1972 to year 2016. Here, augmented reality technology is embedded, and it enables you to show the video, and also later I will show you 3D interactive models. This is one of my interactive art piece Beyond the Pages, produced in the year 1995. Simulated 3D model has interactivity. As you see, you can change pages by touching the screen. You can imagine what you could experience at the actual installation in the past. And then this is a kind of proposal to the question how to conserve new media art. So making 3D model with interactivity, a kind of way to conserve the concept of the media art. From Morel's panorama in 2003, I made it. The model invites you to participate in the installation. It gives you something beyond interactivity, which is a bit different from actual installation in the past. Because the camera feeds your finger into the 3D model, as you can feel you go inside the gallery space. Now your finger differs to your body in this case.
Yeah.
Okay, the last example is rather interesting. I think this is not the demo. This is the original artwork itself in this case. Voices of Aliveness is a project with local residents to collect shouts with video and location data. We did this project in Nantes, France. As you see, world data which is moving now. So you see the map on the base. It's in a public park where the project was realized. So this is now the marker for the augmented reality. Thanks for augmented reality technology. Now each user can browse content by their own curiosity. This is very different way to interface the content onto the physical book.
Yeah. So this is something.
This is an unusual book type.
Sorry. Okay. I'm going to skip this page. But anyhow, this is one of the achievement to experiment the possibility of AR, not only showing the video, but also 3D model, and try to find out some aspects of interactivity between user and the content. So anyhow, this experimentation is based on the book, but in the year 2018, so 2 years later, I was invited to realize one AR project in Hong Kong. So this is very different from book, but this project is also a research for the history and try to tell the history for the young generations, so that the new technology can attract for the young people. So my producer were willing to make a connection with the young people about to give a chance to think about the history of Hong Kong. Because as you know, while the Hong Kong was occupied by UK government, they didn't have much interest about the history of Hong Kong. But actually, there is a history, and there is no official history book about Hong Kong. So that's why my producer, Miss Agnes Lin, wanted to do like this project. So I don't know whether you can differentiate these people who is eating noodles and peanuts, and this guy conveying the lunch boxes not exist in the present. Others backgrounds, all the backgrounds are the present, but these two people and these two people and this one person is showing by the application. And this was made by using actual actors. They acted inside the special studio, surrounded by nearly 70 cameras, and the left side is a screen capture from the software. So these 70 images were used to generate 3D model human figure. So this was a little bit earlier moment before the stable software came in. So we tackled a lot about erase noises. Actually, one of my assistants spent a lot of time to clean up everything. But anyhow, this was the moment, and we studied a lot about technology. But anyhow, the result was quite extraordinary. So you can see, you know, this picture. So one guy is sitting on a chair as a live human, and but he can interact with the person from the 50s. So this was I don't know whether you had the chance to visit Hong Kong or not, but Hong Kong has special atmosphere mixed with European style building, Asian costume. Some restaurants are totally Chinese, so it's really interesting mixture. Here is the short
This project
document.
started with these old photos. Yeah, then we discuss and we reconstruct the scene by a special technique to make 3D model.
You worked on it for a long time?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
We are Hong Kong people, but
Yes.
we do not know this history.
Actually, we did the interview with elderly people here in Wan Chai. They were very energized with the photo. They started to talk a lot about behind the scene, and these are a good reference for me for direct the actors.
It's more interesting to have the behind the scenes stories.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Introducing the types of fish.
Disappear.
到幾時冇啦？
應該要7幾年， 7幾年開始冇。
我細個都見到，
因為7幾年咧，
7幾年喺
係7幾年
街市，
係啦，都仲有
有
啊。
檔企有檔伯伯。
このまま。Okay. Maybe you are choosing something. Yeah, and then maybe you said, "Oh, this is too expensive." So, okay, so yeah, so I have to scan this.
I think this will end soon. There are a lot of interesting stories behind the scene because at each period there is some different regulations and people need to behave according to the command from the government. And actually, you know, these restaurants on the street is a kind of illegal activity, but the government didn't look after. Then they can earn some money on the street. In a way, I can say there is some kind of freedom were there. So they have a freedom to start some business on the street. I think this is very, very interesting. And at that moment, there are a lot of energy on the street. So nowadays, you know, people living in Hong Kong cannot say they are Hong Kongese. They need to say they are Chinese. So this is the situation, different after the yellow umbrella movement. Anyhow, it's already a part of history now. Then I would like to move to next project. Oops.
This project.
Yes. Wow. Oops. Yeah. The third project is about called Be Here 1942. This project was realized in Los Angeles, and we also focused onto the history in Los Angeles. And this production was realized under the Yanai initiative in UCLA. And we collaborated with Japanese American National Museum. This museum was established after the redress movement when they won against the American government. Then they could make this museum. Anyhow, this museum is one of the very important symbol of Japanese American community. So as you can see, I have an iPad, and you can see some people is waiting for the bus, but they are not existing in the real space. Oh. Yeah. So this is another shot. This lady is taking a picture of the image on the surface of the iPad. And this is the screen capture from iPad. So you can see the reflection of myself. But anyhow, this is a real space. Background is real space, and these people were made by volumetric capture technology and now displayed by using augmented reality. So there is 176 human figures composited in this area. Oops. And there is three different areas. First area is about for the people who is walking towards the location where the bus would come. So most of them are walking with their family, and sometimes they found another friend at the location. And all these actions were recorded at the special studio, so-called volumetric capture studio. There is 30 or 40 4K cameras were set up, and all of these camera record the actions at the same time. I mean synchronized. So please remember these cameramen, because I focused. Oops, very slow. Sorry. I wanted to skip to the next movie. Perhaps, yeah. And the second movie is about the moment they already made a line for riding buses. So here is the two officers. They are checking the numbers and family names before they are going to ride a bus. The quality gets worse now. For, you know, when I directing the actors, I need some kind of scenario. For writing scenario, I spent quite a long time to do a research. but the moment when they ride a bus was quite short time, as you know, just 3 hours, 4 hours. Then there are almost nothing about almost no information inside the oral history or writing text. But there are many photographs I could find out. Most of them were from archive. So this is one of the important photography. The moment they were waiting for the train. This was shot by Russell Lee. He is the documentary photographer commanded from the government to document the moment when the Japanese Americans going to taking a train. And I was very shocked with this photography because usually the photographer will not take another photographers. But this guy, this Russell Lee is very different. He also documented how this moment was documented. So usually photographer try to hide behind the camera. But this is also very important to remember all the photography has a cameraman behind the lenses. So this picture can tell us how this tragedy was recorded. And also I could use this photography for reconstructing the moment of evacuation. This is another photography I also refer. The location is different. But anyhow, this is the situation. Okay. And this is another important photography because this is the exactly same location where we used for showing AR application. So this building is the other side of the museum I showed you at the beginning. So actually, this place was used for evacuation. Yeah, and this is the studio, volumetric studio. As I told you, there is many cameras and there's no props, there is no backdrops. So people need to imagine the situation about them. So that's why I really needed to make a certain scenario. Otherwise, they just stands or just walking. So quite difficult to reconstruct the moment. Okay, next will be the last video I prepared. This video was made by the PR team at the UCLA. I think this is very compact and very easy to understand the content rather than my talk.
I don't remember too much except standing in that crowd right on the corner, Central and First, where the Nishihonganji temple is. That is where we were waiting for the bus to take us down to the train station. That's about all I remember.
So the exhibit is called Be Here in 1942, a new lens on the Japanese American incarceration.
This production was based on the volumetric capture technology.
I think it's going to be different for every person.
I've never seen an exhibit that affected me so much like this one. My name is June Aochi Burke. I'll be 90 this year. I was 9.5 when we were evacuated and we had to leave our homes.
The topic we focused on is about the moment people are waiting for the bus or the train which went to the camps.
This right here is where real people 80 years ago were standing, getting ready to step on a bus and leave everything. There are these two augmented reality installations. You walk around in this space that is filled with images of Japanese Americans waiting to get on buses. The Unai Initiative is a collaborative project, UCLA and Waseda University in Tokyo. This is the biggest project that the Unai Initiative has ever undertaken.
There's one picture of me holding a doll. I've seen a lot of pictures of that doll.
All of these photographs were shot by the professional cameraman. They were commanded from the American government at that moment. Even in that situation, the cameraman came in, following with maybe 5 or 6 Caucasians surrounded by you when you were 5 years old. That's the kind of fact I found when I close up the eyes. There is a silhouette of the people reflected.
It's like seeing the whole evacuation from different eyes.
You walk around in this space that is filled with images of Japanese Americans, and you really feel a kind of connection to history that, at least for me, I've never experienced that before.
If you are moved with the story, your brain starts to energize and memorize more solid way. So that's an artist's job.
So this kind of use of this emerging technology of volumetric capture is also unprecedented. In all kinds of ways, this is a pretty amazing technological feat, and it's still kind of stunning to me that we managed to pull it off.
I did feel like we weren't equal. I think it's important to record these stories so that it will not happen again.
Hate is taught. We have to stop this one generation teaching the other generation to hate. At my age, as long as I can still talk and as long as I can still remember, I feel that it's my duty to tell the story as I know it, and hopefully it will educate some people. I hope so.
Okay, thank you. One thing I didn't tell you, but this exhibition is not only about augmented reality application, open air, outside the public space, but also we had an exhibition, and this exhibition, you can see some products from my research, mainly focused on the photo media. So my exhibition starts from photography media until augmented reality. And the augmented reality try to rewrite the content or rethink about visual media. And the last words I want to add here is about the word "be here." The title is "Be Here," but it's a kind of coincidence. I decided this title, but actually, the "be here" is very interesting terminology because "be here" is a kind of a command. So please be here, or if you say please be here to the person who have been living 80 years ago, that means we will call them bring them, not back then, to bring them to be here. But also, this means we jump to there. I mean, we will back to 1942. So there's two ways. So one way back to 1942, but also people who was in the year 1942 is now come to the present. So that means that give me another interesting idea about the proximity, because this kind of proximity cannot realize only by the technology, but also it is very important to tell the history, tell the individual story. Then we can, how can I say, synchronize, or we can understand the situation fully through these new technologies. So yeah, I'm sorry, it's a bit difficult to speak in English, but one of the important aspects for using augmented reality technology is about how can we use this technology as an artistic way. That's a point I want to tell you. So I think you said I have 30 minutes. I think it's already 30 minutes. I want to stop my talk here. Is this fine? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Masaki, for this, for showing us these moving pictures and also your work. For me, it's. I think that, and I am persuaded that you are an artist of the creative media ecosystem. For me, you are very exemplary of an artist that can use some tools, and that's my question also. You have you tried some tools like robotics, VR, also old fashion. Also, you mix different techniques, and with the virtual. And here you work with archive databases and the augmented reality. So, what are you thinking about your position? Perhaps it's difficult to tell us, but how your relationship with the tools is very singular for me. Can you tell us something about that in relation with the project and the conception of the project?
I see. At the beginning, I discussed a lot with the professors in UCLA. The beginning, we only think about the augmented reality. But as a Japanese person in America, then some of the professors asked me to focus onto the history of Japanese Americans in Los Angeles. Then, this is a kind of heavy project. It's not easy because if I made a mistake, maybe Japanese American community do not want to connect with me. So that means that's failed the project. Then, actually, once I was almost abandoned to continue this idea, but when I started to make a research into the archive, somehow American government is very, very good, because even these kind of bad history, they made a very, very clear archives, and these archives were opened after year 2000, because after the 50 years they started open the documents about the war. Then, but also all of these photographs were made by very good professional documentary photographers. One of them was Dorothea Lang. Maybe you know the migrant mother, the very famous documentary photography. And to this team of documentation, the team for documenting Japanese American evacuation was very, very professional. And Library of Congress and National Archive both started to make started to digitize these photographs from negatives. And as you can imagine, there are many 4x5 films, large format, and they made digitized from negative. Then, when you see some of the photographs on the website, the feeling of the texture of the image is like like the photography took yesterday's, very fresh. I cannot say the reason, but the impression of these images on the website is very, very fresh. And the resolution is very high, 3000 by 4000. So you can, pinch out, zoom in. That's why I could find out small lady's eye reflected the 4 or 5 Caucasians. So that was the moment. Okay, I agree. I can continue this project because this project is very much connected with the history of media also. Not only not only the bold American history, but also history of media is twisted with the real histories. Then I started to analyze more deeply how these photographers tackled to make a documentation, because as you can imagine, all of these documentary photographers are liberal people. They want to be free because they are the person who make an art. But all of these cameramen were observed by the person from the government. As you can see, as I said, there is 4 or 5 people surrounded with small children. Then there's one cameraman, maybe one assistant, then a military police, and 2 more officers. So these officers were observing what the cameraman is doing. Sometimes they don't accept it to shot something. So this is the real situation I understand after I made a research. Then, so I was, very much energized with this fact. Then I started to include the photographers inside my the content. So as you can imagine, while you use the iPad at the location, you are believing, you are looking some of the created moment. But please imagine if the person inside the screen starts to think you are the person who came from the future back to 1942. So that means you will be a cameraman while you are using iPad. You've been believing you are looking, but on the other hand, you are the cameraman at the moment when they were waiting for the bus. This is almost same as the photographers. As I said, the documentary photographers who documented the moment when they were waiting for the buses. So there are kind of layers, interesting layers were twisted. The now and the past, and also the subject and the object. So all of these are layered and twisted. So this was another interesting aspect of this project. Is this the answer? Good answer for you?
Yes, very good. And thank you very much. Good professor.
Masaki, in your past work, like Fieldworks or Morel Panorama or Mont Fuji, you develop some reflection around new space and new time with new technology. How you can explain your interest to VR in this aim, in this purpose of new time and new space? What brings you VR in this in representation?
I think this project is the most complex. This project contains most complex structure. Not only the initialization of recording the historical event was done by another person who was already died. And then I came in after the World War II. I did not have a chance to experience the real war. And also I have been living in Tokyo. I never lived in the US. So I'm totally from the outside. But if there were no photography left, obviously this project was not realized. So not only generating something, but also in this case, I studied a lot how to look the photography. One of the astonishing moments was there is one lady, Mrs. Nakamoto, sitting on the stairs with her family, but there is no husband. But her face has a full of smile. So I have been wondering, because within such a severe situation, how can she has a smile? Then after a lot of research, I found a notebook wrote by the Dorothea Lange at the Bancroft Library in UC Berkeley. Then there is 4 lines. Mrs. Nakamoto asked Dorothea Lange about to take a photography of her family. She wanted to send this photography to the husband. He was already in the jail, not the internment camp. He was in the jail. So this photography and her smile was dedicated for her husband, not for the cameraman, not for the government. This is very private photography, was in the archive. No one did know this story. After I revealed this personal history, I was very much shocked. Even just a fragment of the picture has had such a deep story. So this is one of the aspects of media which I didn't recognize. Photography is a media about recording something, express some more emotion or impression, but also this type of strange twist can be happen by the reason, some weird, moment and time and the emotions. So I think this is also a part of a characteristics of media. And also, now we are using AR and VR and another many other interesting media. But we also think about this aspect, how we are going to use these technologies. So yeah, I think this project is quite different from others for me. So I like explosion.
Okay. Perhaps if we have no question, thank you very much, Masaki, for agreeing to to stay up with us so late.
No problem.
Okay.
As usual.
Thank you very much, Masaki.
Yeah, I hope to see you. Meet
Yeah.
in person soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Nous passons à l'exposé suivant, qui va nous laisser dans les creative media, mais va nous faire changer d'angle d'analyse. Yes.
It's better.
But you are not obliged to have a Japanese accent.
I
You can do it with a French
I
accent.
will stick to my French accent, I'm afraid. I don't know if there is an accent in Angoulême, but... So, thank you for your invitation. I am Etienne Papin, I am a lawyer. I've founded a law firm in Paris some years ago, specialized in IT, intellectual property, information technology law. And Stéphane asked me to try to anticipate the legal problems and concerns that will arise in the metaverse. So I did my homeworks, and here I am in front of you, trying to present you in a foreign language specific legal issues related to the metaverse. I hope I will be clear enough. I don't know if the metaverse will be a success, as their promoters wishes this new media to be. I don't know if it will be widely adopted as it is already with the smartphones, the social network, the e-commerce. But I can easily predict what will be the legal issues that will arise in the metaverse, simply by observing the last 20 years of the internet law. So, first of all, I would like to define what will be discussing during this short presentation. There is certainly many possible meanings of the metaverse. So I will propose my own definition. And I'm characterizing the metaverse with 4 components. Specifically, it's a media with which you can interact with an unknown people, like in real life. It is a media that is constantly evolving, even when you are not logged inside the metaverse, when you are not connected in the metaverse. There's always something going on in the metaverse that you cannot follow up, just like in real life. What is different, and very different from real life, is that you are inside the metaverse with what we call an avatar. You are not inside the metaverse with your own identity, your own name, your own image. You're creating and you're using one or maybe many avatars, and it's not like in real life. And what is said to be possible, or what is expected in the metaverse, is that you will be able to own and to sell and to buy digital assets. Of course, in order to be able to do all that kind of stuff, you have to use a human-machine interface, something like a headset or maybe just a website or a smartphone. So this is, for me, the definition that that I've made of the metaverse in order to try to present you and to anticipate the legal situation, the legal issues that will arise in the metaverse. So these are the questions I would like to discuss with you today. Whose place are we? To whom belongs the metaverse? Who makes the rule inside the metaverse? Are we safe in this place? Are we free in this space? Are there any borders? And what do we own in this world called the metaverse? Obviously, the word metaverse is based on a word universe. And the word universe conveys a certain meaning. It is a meaning of freedom, of liberty, of space. It is the meaning of somewhere you can go around freely, almost without limitation. That is what conveys the word universe, on which is based the word metaverse. But we can agree on the fact that universe belongs to nobody, unless we are proven wrong one day. We can agree on the fact that a country belongs to its citizen. Inside this country, there are individual properties, at least in democratical states. But the one thing is sure is that the metaverse belongs to its promoter. So, who makes the rule in the metaverse? I've put it the logo of Facebook. I should have maybe used the logo of Horizon World, the metaverse of Facebook. But this is just to say that the rules inside the metaverse are made by the promoter of the metaverse, and not the parliament, not the government, as it is the case in real life. So the users of a metaverse are in kind of a single relationship, unilateral relationship between them and the promoter, the operator of the metaverse. So, what are the consequences of this constatation? In real world, you may do anything that is not expressly prohibited by the law. If you cause damage to someone, you must compensate these damages you have caused. This means that people are identified. This is an important concept of any country, any law system. This is the concept of the fact that you are a human being precisely identified by other people or by the state. In the metaverse, it's not exactly the same. It's not quite the same. In the metaverse, the new law is the terms and conditions of the promoter of the metaverse. You may call it the guidelines, the rules of the community, or whatever you call. This is some kind of document that is enacted by the promoter of the metaverse, in which stating what you have the right to do or not to do inside the metaverse. These terms and conditions are established by the operator. They are unilateral. I mean, sometimes they are called, it is the case in Facebook, for example, they are called the rules of the community. But to be true, the community has never decided of such rules. There have never been any votation or poll or any process like that. The rules of the community, the so-called rules of the community, are decided by the operator of the metaverse, of the social networks, if we are talking to other kind of media. These terms and conditions are subject to modification if the circumstances require it, and obviously if the interest of the operator of the metaverse is to change its term and condition, it will change it without seeking for the agreement of its end users. And there is only one kind of sanction in the metaverse, or in the social media, if we took this kind of media as a day-to-day reference. It is banishment. If you don't comply with the rules of the community, with the term and condition, you are being banned of the media, either definitely or for a certain period of time. And we all know that former American President Donald Trump has been banned for some time, and is now re-established in its right to tweet again. This is the way it works in social media. In the metaverse, it will be the same. But what I would like to stress out is that if the metaverse becomes what maybe it will become in some years, I mean an important part of our lives, it will be a real problem to be banned from the metaverse. If the way you interact with people, the way you interact with your bank, for example, or even with authorities, governmental bodies, are being made through the metaverse, and you are banned of the metaverse, how will you keep on being able to do some day-to-day and regular activities? That may sound a little bit like in a far future, like science fiction, but think of the rapidity with which it has now evolved. When you want to buy something online and pay with your credit card, you have to use your iPhone or your smartphone in order to be able to make a transaction with a credit card. If I want to log in my bank account, I must use my smartphone to be authenticated. So it goes really fast. Technology goes very fast, so maybe one day the banishment of the metaverse will be a real problem for individuals, much more than just not being able to share contents, but really to operate your day-to-day life. So that's the problem of the terms and condition versus national law. I will go back to that a little bit later on. The question that we may ask is the metaverse safe? We all know that social media are a source of aggressive and damaging behavior by some users toward other users, especially for teenagers. It will be the same, obviously, in the metaverse. It has already been reported that there have been harassment in the Horizon world of Meta. And Meta developed new feature in its metaverse in order to prevent unknown people to approach one another. It's now impossible to approach someone in the metaverse within 1 meter perimeter. I don't know how we calculate in the metaverse the meters, if it has real meaning, but you cannot approach someone very close in the metaverse. And it's already possible in the metaverse to mute the voice of the people surrounding you because some user of the metaverse were just being attacked vocally by other users. So there is a functionality developed in order to be able to switch them off. But there is also lots more laws that can be infringed in the metaverse, such like copyright. There is non-compliance with the trade regulation that we have. You all know that, for example, between a company and consumers, when you're doing business, there is a lot of constraining law that applies that you must obey if you're a company. All these laws are already very hard to enforce in social media, and it will be the same in the metaverse. How to deal with this problem? The first problem that we have today with the social networks, and that we will have obviously in the metaverse, it's that it's nearly impossible to obtain the identity of the person who caused a damage to someone. It's impossible also to obtain a compensation if you've been harassed, for example, or if your intellectual property has been infringed in this kind of media. And to be frank, social networks operators, and that will be the same with Metaverse, have just no interest in regulating the content, except nudity. That's the only content which is really regulated with some kind of efficiency. The rest is just not regulated. For just a single reason, a simple reason. More content means more traffic, means more view, means more advertising and more revenues. So the promoter of social networks, and it will be the same with Metaverse, has just no interest in regulating the content. As a lawyer, I can testify in front of you that it takes years and years and years if you want to bring before a court a complaint against someone who caused you damage in social networks. Even the police has not the ability to get the information from Facebook, for example, about who is the real people behind a name, behind an avatar, behind a user account on the networks. This is a failure of law and justice that we have to deplore. But unfortunately, from my point of view, I don't know if you've heard about a new European regulation that has been enacted very recently, which is called the Digital Services Act, which the DSA. Sorry. This piece of regulation that has been enacted at a European level won't change anything. On the contrary, it will allow the operators of social networks to stick to their position, which is to say that they are not responsible of the content. They are just host provider. So as host provider, the content that they are hosting is not their responsibility. Therefore, they are not responsible if this content causes a damage to someone. And the DSA recently enacted just put this principle to a new, how to say that, to renew this principle for the further 20 years to come. So nothing will change with the DSA. Same rule will apply. Social networks, metaverse promoters or operators will be able to say that they are not responsible of what is taking place inside their media. This regulation, I've just talked about here, of October, the Digital Services Act, secure the position of the platform, what we call the platform, the social media, the search engine, and so on. And even though it is even confirming that the term and condition we have discussed a little bit earlier is the private law that the operator of the platform are allowed to impose to their user. Indeed, this Article 14 of the DSA gives a major role to the terms of condition of the platform. That's for the questions: who rules the metaverse? The metaverse is ruled by its operator and by its term and condition. Another question that we may ask is: are we free in the metaverse? Not at all. In the metaverse, all your movement, all your interaction with the user, everything you say, every goods you own, the place you visit, will be permanently analyzed and stored. This is inherent to the technology, to the IT technology. Every user is being monitored, and any interaction of the user with the technology is creating logs that can be analyzed. The problem is that there is obviously a problem of freedom, of individual rights, if you are permanently monitored of what you are doing inside the metaverse, what you're saying, who you are talking with. The operator of the metaverse will know that live. You have certainly heard about the GDPR, which is the European regulation, which is regulating the personal data processing. This regulation won't save us from being monitored inside the metaverse. This regulation is too weak, and this regulation was elaborated in the 90s. We are now in 2023. So it's not at all adapted to regulate what the operators of the metaverse will do of the personal data that are being collected of the user in the metaverse. And we must draw a conclusion, which is the big tech are very reluctant to protect your privacy. I'm just stating this conclusion merely by the fact that recently they have been sanctioned by the data protection authority, such as the French CNIL, or recently the Irish data protection authority. You can see on this slide the number in the amount of sanctions that the data protection authorities in France have pronounced against Google, Facebook, Apple, TikTok, etc. That's a huge amount of money, but it's very small for them. and it just shows that the big tech are just not ready to abide by the law of data protection. So if you enter the metaverse, please be sure that anything you do in the metaverse is being known by the promoter of the metaverse. To finish exploring the question, the legal question brought by this new media, which is the metaverse, I was asking myself, is there any borders in this strange universe called the metaverse? Obviously, there is a lot of borders. It is technical borders. We have to, in the 80s, and even before the 80s, what is the actual base of the internet? TCP/IP, HTTP, World Wide Web, etc., has been brought to humanity by scholars, by researchers, and given freely. And on the base of these technologies, some company has arrived, Google, Facebook, etc., etc., and made a lot of profits with these open technologies. And now we all know that they don't have any interest in interoperabilities. They will stick to this principle, which is to say that their user must stay in their universe and will not be able to exchange things between other universe. Just to give you an example, the first iPhone was released in 2007, and it is only now that we are in Europe taking a regulation to oblige Apple to use USB-C as the way to plug your equipment to recharge it. So it took decades for the legislator to be able to force an operator to use open standard. So we can really foresee that in the metaverse you will be in metaverse, Facebook metaverse, maybe I don't know, Google metaverse, Apple metaverse, and will not be able to exchange your thing to meet other people from other metaverse during many time. The last question is, can we own something in the metaverse? More and more the digital assets are gaining value, especially on online gaming platform. I've heard about Roblox, for example. It is said that that kind of digital assets are more and more valuable, and the purpose is to be able to act as the owner of this digital asset. In fact, the concept of ownership is a concept that is quite important for a lot of countries in this world. Every democracy feels that property has to be protected. It's the ground of the way our civilization has developed. It is protected by the law. It is protected even by the constitution in France. Will we have such kind of property on digital assets in the metaverse? You just have to read through, once again, the term and condition. It is called, for example, for Roblox, the term of use. And it said that user who create user-generated contents grants to Roblox a worldwide, perpetual, royalty-free irrevocable right and non-exclusive license to use and exploit that user-generated content. In fact, when you're creating something in the Roblox metaverse, you're giving this something to Roblox. So, as of today, there is no such concept of property inside the metaverse, actually. That was the few questions I wished to develop with you on the metaverse. It seems maybe I'm afraid to say that when we look to the metaverse from the legal perspective, this new platform, this new media, raises a lot of concern from liberty and rights of people. I think we have to all be aware of that. And as a kind of a paradox, the metaverse will be a place highly controlled, highly monitored by his promoter, but with very few laws inside. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a lot of questions, but maybe I should ask to the assistants if they have some. Maybe I start. My first is not a question, is that if I take your definition of metaverse, I would say metaverse are existing since 25 or 30 years. For example, if you look to something like massively multiplayer games like World of Warcraft, it's exactly all the things you said in your definition. Yes. So probably, I don't know if there are some answers, but the answer should have raised already from the problem you could find in World of Warcraft, the rules of the terms of role. And my other thing is not exactly a question, but the fact that if you are talking about the danger in the metaverse, but probably there is a danger coming from the metaverse in our real life. In a course I used to give, I give the example, there was a massively multiplayer game called Star Wars Online. And an economist made an analysis of Star Wars Online money, and he found that there were more money disappearing than money which were created, which could lead to deflation. But there was no deflation. So he looked more in detail, and he found there was some people making false money for World of Warcraft. So what I used to say to my students, if you don't want to make any more games, you want to be a money, comment on dit, un faux monnayeur, somebody making false money. You use the classical way. You take the daughter of somebody who is able to draw $1, then you find a cave, you put a print in the cave, and if you are taken by the FBI, you spend 25 years in jails. Or you make false money for Star Wars Inlines that you can sell on the internet for real dollars, and as you said, the only thing that you risk is to be banished from Star Wars Online for the next 3 years, which means that making false money has no more interest. It has changed with the... So my two questions, what do you think are really changing with the idea of the metaverse compared to the lot of world? And the second thing is, out of the metaverse, do you think it will change our, I would say, real life? If money is all electronic, then could it have an impact on our money, even to pay bread every day?
Well, on your first question, I think the only difference is a difference of size. if the number of users grows widely and is not limited to a group of young people playing online, like my son, but to everybody, the problems will just grow, and that is why the legislator is keeping a closer eyes on the situation. If it was limited to gaming, it was deemed to be like not important. And if we are starting to be able to buy things and services inside the metaverse, like we do on e-commerce website, I think the dimension is just widening, and that's why we think it's more important to focus on the issues on this metaverse. But I do agree with you; it has already existed, but on a smaller scale.
Compare, yesterday we had a presentation about Metaverse. Roblox has around 50 million users. There are 3 billion of people on Facebook. So when Roblox will have 3 billion users, we will have exactly the same.
And you also have to be aware that the people who are making laws are somehow a little bit old, and they don't know that this kind of world exists. They will know it one day, but before they know it, it takes some time. And your second question, I'm sorry.
My second question is, even if we stay out of the metaverse, you are an old people and you go every day to buy your bread at the bakers, but someday you will not have any more money, tangible money. You will have a card to pay your bread. So don't you think that the people who are in the metaverse will have, the risk is to have an influence from the virtual world on the real world, even on the people which are not inside the virtual world?
Yes, I think it's not really a legal issue. It's a society issue, actually, because although I've been working on the field of IT law for more than 20 years now, I feel really concerned of the drawbacks of this technology in the real world. I have this example of an old people at the post office was not able to buy a stamp because this old people was not able to use its iPhone and its credit card. I mean, you just want to buy a stamp. To buy a stamp, you should not have to interact with IT technology. You will just have to interact with another human people. So forcing to interact with IT technology to do day-to-day stuff will happen maybe. I've mentioned in my presentation the example of not being able to buy online without using my mobile phone to authenticate, which is, I think, is madness. You will not be able to get access to your own money if you lose your iPhone. It's a nightmare. So I think the drawbacks of these technologies and on the metaverse, on the real world, will be if we are compelled to use this technology to interact in the real world. And there are a lot of reports, such as reports made by the Défenseur des Droits, which is a French institution, pointing out the drawbacks of this technology, but it seems that nobody cares. We keep on going to more and more and more usage of IT technology on our day-to-day life.
Thank you very much, Mr. Papin. Just one thing and one question. It's not really a question. One thing, you say maybe a nightmare will come, nightmare days will come. They are still here. They are already here. When you look at parking processing, payment processing here, even in Angoulême, you have to go to the local borne. I don't know the English word. And you have to enter your car identification number, and you have to pay. It's already a nightmare.
Before that, you have to download the correct application because it's not the same in every city in France, which is madness. We have to. I know that it's. I don't believe why we are going that far in this processing. There is a lot of wonderful thing in this technology, obviously, but we have to be able to separate.
Find the correct line where to start, where to stop. Just a question. You said in your presentation that big tech company don't really pursue the population happiness by protecting their privacy. Maybe because they are American, mostly. And European regulation is precisely European. And there is, I know it because I'm also a lawyer, there is a real difference making money, making company, making business between US and European territory.
This is a very important problem that you're raising, I think. The bitter conclusion I'm coming is that during this past 20 years, Europe was not able to bring IT giants to the market. It's even the contrary that has happened. There are no major European player in the domain of search engine, of cloud computing facilities. It's just AWS everywhere now. I mean, AWS must be hosting more than half of of the website of the planet, and I think that nothing is done actually at the level of the institution, of the European institution, to try for this big European company to emerge. This is once again, it's not a legal problem; it's a political problem, but it's a very important political problem.
Thank you very much. Are we okay? Is there a last question? I can ask some, but one last promise. Well, everything was very interesting, and I really agree with a lot of your conclusion. Maybe I would be a little more criticized with the, not criticized, sorry.
Optimistic. Maybe.
Optimistic,
yes.
Yeah. Sorry, thank you very much. With the research of interoperability in legal, in the law evolution, we saw a company trying to keep property on all their assets, all their technologies. But I'm here in the Enjmin place. I think of Nintendo, and Nintendo gets lose some trials even in France. I think it was in Paris because of interoperability. Some people try to broke the what's the word? Security levels of the Switch, I think, or Nintendo DS, and Nintendo sue them for breaking their term of and conditions, and they lose. I remember the lawyer who represented Nintendo explaining what was the economic damage behind the condemnation of, or not the condemnation, the dismissed of the affair. And in fact, interoperability can work, can win, and it's a very good thing. But it's true, it takes time.
That's exactly the problem. Time is of the essence, I said in the English. It must be done very swiftly, because if you wait for about 10 or 15 years in order to get the final decision, the market has already evolved and it's too late. So the trial of anti-competition trial in the IT field is full of dead companies who sued Apple, who sued Microsoft, who sued, but they won at the end. But they went bankrupt long before they won. So in order to be able to really have an impact of the way the companies are evolving and to force interoperability, the legislator at the European level must act very quickly. And if it don't, it's just useless.
Yeah, can I restart on this point of view? For example, something which is, I don't know if it's changing or not changing, but you have more and more people using open software. For example, for people here who are making animation, software like Blender, which is free and which is rather open, which is based on the community. Maybe in 2 years it will be a private company and a lot of things will change, but Blender is accessible to everyone at the same time that its competitor was too expensive, too big, and maybe if you're talking about Microsoft Office, you have Open Office, which can do almost the same thing that Microsoft. But of course, all the companies are using Microsoft Word, and myself, I'm using Microsoft.
And myself.
Because I get the free agreement from the Cnam.
This is the tool that I'm using every day to work, and I'm obliged to use Microsoft, because if I send a document to my clients in another format than Word, they will stare at me.
But if you use OpenOffice, you can generate a Word document.
It's a nightmare with the format. It's a nightmare with the format. So no, you don't. You can't.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about retrieving of personal data, because in the metaverse, the data change of format, because perhaps in this universe, our behavior, comportment, you know, the way we see, our yes, behavior, basic instinct will be analyzed by some machine. The computer could make some model. And it's a little scary to imagine that this data will be in a black box analyzed by an AI. And so when I ask a question with a responsible of RGPD regulator, and I said to him, I would like to, how I can retrieve my personal data. He said, okay, you can. In Europe, you have the right to ask a company to give your data collected. But when I ask, can I see the list of criteria this provider use to track me? He said, no, I don't think that we could have this list. All the criteria. Do you understand what my question? So I think it's not just a question of time, but it's also a question of understanding of what this provider could collect.
Well, it's a question of the means we are giving to the authorities, whose job is to protect us against the misusage of our personal data. And the means are, as expected, very limited. In front of them, they have Google, they have Facebook. So it's nice to have rights. It's nice. Maybe it's better to have rights, but it's better if these rights are really enforceable and really respected by this company. They are not today. Let's be frank between us. They don't respect these rights.
I propose that we stop now this question. We go to the last conference, and you still have some questions. We will do it after, because Alexandre is waiting for us.
Thank you for your question.
Alors, normalement, vous avez les droits de partage. Donc, vous devriez pouvoir lancer le partage de votre présentation. Super, merci.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, on t'entend très bien.
Ah, eh bien, bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour, donc...
Hello, everybody.
Je vais te laisser te présenter et ton exposé.
Okay, so I'm Alexandre BRETHEAU. I just create with two friends of mine my company, whose name's Loops, and we are working in animations. I'm working in animation since 20 years now, and we decide to focus on real-time tools, mainly Unreal Engine. And you were talking about Blender just before, and Blender to focus more on open source. And so we exist since 1 year now, and we are working with 2 Minutes on a big pipeline project around Unreal. So we want to push Unreal as much as possible in the animation pipeline. And so we are currently working on the animation feature films with the rendering made in Unreal. And so here I will try to expose you the two differences that we can, the main difference that we can have between what we call a linear process versus a real-time process. But when I'm talking about real-time, I'm talking about from my experiences in Unreal Engine versus the other software, classical, I would say, even if this is the main one used. So let's go. So the plan, like I told you, is first of all talking about linear pipeline versus real-time pipeline. After, I will try to show you a few samples about the working in real time, and we'll try to conclude about the evolution for the animation process. So this is, I would say, my point of view, and so I'll start to share. So linear versus real time. So those two simple images are really significant about the difference between those two processes. If I go next. So the linear pipeline is, I would say, most of the time something with long render time. This is made on render farm. So this is large energy consumptions. So important render farm needs. It's something really step by step in terms of workflow. because every step is pretty long to export or to render. So we want to be sure that this is correctly done and we go to the next step, because we want to avoid as much as possible to come back. So it's really hard with this to see the project, what I call in context. So it means that you first are working on modeling, and you will see your character with the rendering and compositing really after. So you have to approve things without this context. And we have to add a lot of confirmation steps. So those what I call the confirmation steps. This is the steps that are created to merge previous steps together and be sure that this is okay. And it's like a point you say, okay, we approved everything before this and we can go after. And it needs important human resources. There is a lot of tasks, sorry. And all the working steps are pretty clear and more easily to organize with the linear pipeline, because you know what you have to do, and this is really specific. Every steps can be checked by the artist or supervisor before to send to the other department. And it's easier to schedule this production because you know exactly what you will have to do. But this is a bit in contrast with, I would say, an artistical process. And we can produce ultra high quality render. After this. So here it's really a simple representation of a linear workflow, like I can add on feature film I was working on. So you have the storyboard. After you go to the animatic, the layout, the conf layout. So you be sure that everything is clean to prepare for the animation. After you have to fix the animation. So if there is any small penetration, there is the conform once again, confirmation to check that everything is okay, the camera, you get everything. And when it's clean, you can do the final set dress for the composition. You can, after this, do in parallel with the air or the clothes and the crowd. You finalize with FX, small camera finaling for the composition. Compo render, so everything is merged, so it's ready to go to the lighting, the render, and the compo. So this is quite a bit like this. The real-time pipeline. From otherwise, so real-time means real-time rendering, but we will see this is not only rendering behind this. This is really a parallel workflow. We can work many tasks in the same times, and as we can work in real time, we can reduce the steps. There is a steps who can disappear. We have an early results. We can quickly see what will be our final product, I would say. And so as we merging steps, we reduce human resource, and as it's faster, and we at least reduce our energy consumption, especially for the farm part. So here, it's a simple, once again, workflow for the real-time pipeline. And at least we can see that there is 4 big tasks, but we combine a lot of steps of work in those tasks. So I try to make it a bit more, I would say, explicit. So here you can see that in the previous stage now, you can do in Unreal, for example, you can work the storyboard. In the same time, you can do the animatic, the layout, the conf layout. I put it, but at least it's implicit, because when you import your assets, the software need to compile them and to clean everything. You can do a bit animation, comfort. So I will not go in all the detail, but you can see that there is more than one task just in animation or just in CFX. So working in real time. So the real-time process gives us a huge improvement in the working process by an instant feedback. Now we can directly see the results in the viewport, and this is affecting all the tasks. When we talk about real-time pipeline, we mostly think about the real-time render, but this is only one part of the process, because you have all the working process who is in real time. If you want to create landscape, if you want to do animation, if you want to do simulation, everything is in real time. So you don't need to wait for big post-process because there is a few post-process. Just for now, I am in Superfocom in Valenciennes, and I show this to a student, and they are pretty happy to work like this. It's pretty interesting to see how they react to this technology. So as everything in real time, any update or change will be applied instantly, but you have to think about a bit the computing. It's most in the first time, after it go quickly. And so now, what's the next step for the animation pipeline? So the goal for us is to push as much as possible real-time work in the workflow. So to avoid all those export, import data, check that make all the process longer and definitely not funny. So first, there is a previs stage. So the previs is something for now who can work really in Unreal. It's really efficient for this. After, something else who is working really well, it's the rendering and the compositing. This is not a compositing software, but you can work your image, you can change it directly in Unreal to avoid to render a large image with buffer and to work into Nuke. So for now, for the series, it's working well. And we have there is few improvement that will come soon that need to be done for the render. Everything like volumetric FX and simulation. So there is new implementation in Unreal for the volumetric FX, who can have a good future. I'm pretty happy to see how it evolved. And for the simulation, you can have the clothes and the hair. So it's not as precise like what you can have in the other DCCs, but this is really real time, and most of the time it could be really enough. And the animation is the biggest part. So for now, in Unreal, you can imagine to work with mocap and things like this. But if you want to do keyframe, it's a bit harder for now. But honestly, this is really evolving really fast, and there are really many people working on this subject. So I'm pretty confident that in a few years it will be efficient. So previous stage. So I will show you a smaller demo that I made just to let you see what you can do in one step. So what is really good to do the previs in Unreal is that you can work on your landscape. You can scattering trees, stones, things like this. You can work here your editing. So if you have many shots, you can do the edit directly in Unreal. You can load motion capture animation or simple animation and mix it. You can put a lighting, so you are working your background and your environment with the lighting and with a post-process effect who is part of compositing. And you can do a multi-user work like this. This is really made for this. So you can have someone working on the set dress, someone working on the camera, someone else working on the lighting. And so here you will see this is a short movie that we are working on. It's based on the story of Georges Chiras, who was the first inventor of animal photography. And so this is for this project, we want to have, I would say, realistic assets and black and white render with noise and things like this. So here you will see, I will do the play. Up. So here you see I can move. I will first sculpt my land. So I want to change the volume. After this, I will try to paint scatter elements like the trees and this. So the video is sped up, but it's working in real time. And after this, I put more trees, and I will see in lighting now. Here you can see the image. There is lighting and post-process. So you see something like the render. So you can see that there is an interesting light behind. So you want to, oh, okay, I want to put more detail here. and the fronts, and you can paint so much elements, something that you cannot imagine possible in real time in other DCCs. And after this, you can even set dress specially selected element. And here you see, I can change the land and everything is following. This is, this is crazy. So this is really time changing. And here I'm just mixing two animation that this is a free asset. Here I create no asset, I just use free libraries. So here, yeah, you can see that you have this previous works. After this, lighting and render. So for the lighting and render, you can have in Unreal you can achieve, as you can see, the different kind of render games. You can achieve different film or renders. So you have the now you have the global illumination in real time. You can have fog, depth of field. You can have volumetric things. You can update in real time your materials. So if you not adjust the colors, if you want to, you can put what you want in the material. Still you can, you have the technology knowledge to do it. And you have an instant post-process on the image. So a compositing like style. So here you will see, I show you. By default, I put the black and white effect. So this is the same project. And you see in the bottom, you can see the sequencer. You see for the previous two. Here, I just merge a few shots. This is not in terms of editing, it's just for testing stuff. And so here you will see that I'm using in a post-process effect to change the color and to change the shape of the image. And for example, I'm using a normal map to distort the image. This is something that we are used to do in nukes sometimes, but here I can distort it and recreate a kind of, I would say, 2D style. You can have access to the Z path, so you can use it to plug anything. You can change the tints, color, you can, all those parameters are something that I had in my shader just to control my image. So if you have a project, you just have to prepare this really good materials and you can do what you want. And here you see, like in comp, you can have access directly to different kind of paths and so to work on it. So that's pretty exciting. And after this, the volumetric effects and simulation. So this is not for now our specialties, as we need to push more on it. But for what we see on the internet, so I made a few mix of what I am used to see on the internet. You will see that you have really many kind of effects that could be really high quality and in real time. So here, so this is a image from a plugin in Unreal who is named Free Ninja Live. So you can see, imagine this for a TV series or something like this. It's something that you cannot imagine to pay, I would say, for series. It's too expensive to do this with Houdini or thing like this. So you have Fred. So everything is cheated, but it's working well. Here you can see volumetric. With the light, fire. And here it's a close simulation in real time. So imagine you just have your animator working on it. And when we import the animation and do play, we have in the real time the effect of the close. And here it's a funny video, but you see this is hair simulation. This is pretty efficient. And everything has to in real time. Okay. I don't know why, but I want to dance. Next one. So the last one is the animation. So for the animation, there is still all the microcosm for motion capture. You can have a live motion capture. You can have facial motion capture. It's more and more simple to do just with an iPhone, and you can plug it in direct link in Unreal. But for my part in my job, I'm really focusing on the keyframe style animation in Unreal. So for this, they developed something named the control rig, and it's the same in other real-time DCCs. And with this, you can animate it in Unreal. But for now, there is a limitation in terms of deformation. And the tools and the navigation is not as fine as Maya or Blender, for example. So, but this is something that I'm pretty confident that it will evolve, and we will work on it at the studio. So the evolution for the animation process, what we think that could be, in terms of workflow, what is the impact to work with a real-time technology? So we have an early result. We can have something consistent to see at the previous step. It's for the short movie, the producer was really happy to see what will be quite the final result at the beginning. In terms of creativity, you have now the ability to do tests or to say, oh, I want to test this, because you have a real-time feedback. So you test, oh no, I go back. And this is pretty, I really appreciate this. You can do quick adjustments. The real-time simulation allow once again to test and directly get the result. And you drastically limit the what we call the bottleneck situation with the retakes. For example, if you have a retakes on something and you need to, you have a retake in animation, you need to re-export all the caches and send it back to the close department who have to redo the close in their home environment. And after, when they do this, they have to re-export the cache of the close to implement it in the render scene. So all this, if you are really fast, you can take days. And here you can have it in a few minutes. The multi-user process in terms of workflow. So working in parallel is really in the DNA of the real-time pipeline. It's made for this. And as it's real-time, it's working. It simplifies the working process, as you can test. For example, if you want to test your lighting and change one parameters, you have to re-render stuff and wait for this to see, oh, no, this is not what I want, but I changed this parameter, but I don't know what it exactly changed. And you have to, it could take really long process, long time. And you can work more in context and optimize the task communication, because you say, okay, I can see the quite of the final product. So what I want to improve is this. Okay, let's go and split the task. And as you can see, we reduce the working steps. For example, we can, there is tools in Unreal who allow you to draw directly in it. So you can combine the drawing for the storyboard with the straight of the CG 3D, or the 3D, and do the editing. So combine the storyboard, animatic, and the layout. In terms of productions, efficiencies, so working in real time avoid a lot of mistakes and allow to quick go to the final point, for what I told you. Parallel stack tasks allow to win times production, but it can add complexity to manage. I think really the real-time workflow will have to push many people to rethink how to schedule stuff and in terms of production, because everything is progressing in the same time, and you will not work in the same order. So the production need adjustment for example, in the linear pipeline, we start to list all the assets to create based on the script. And after this, say, okay, I have to work on this. I need a free modeler. Okay, let's go. But now, what will be the most efficient is to say, okay, I have a script. I will try to create it with just a small team, generally small team. They will do previews. And based on this, I will do a breakdown. So I will say, I would say, okay, I don't need to work on this house. She's in the background, in the dark or in the dusk. Don't need it at least. And so the previs is implemented in the linear process for now, but most of the time this is another studio who do it, and you have to recreate everything. You have to wait. Here the goal is to say, okay, we stay in the same project and we just refine the image. And we can imagine to re-render any times. So we need to avoid losing time. So most of the time in production, when you talk to production people about the real-time process, they are a bit afraid to say, I can stop now my director. Or I can tell you, no, you cannot do this retake, because most of the time say, oh no, we don't have the time for this retake. It's too long to re-render everything, or it's too long to reprocess everything. But here, as it's real time, we are afraid about this. But it's going to be a bit the same. You say, we have 2 days to do this. So you can work in your 2 days, but after this, we have to stop. Graduate budget and improvement. So real-time production is like, for me, it's really like an image that you can refine as much as you want. And you can say, okay, I have the budget to refine it, or no more budget. So I will say, okay, I have to stop here, because everything is working together. So when you say stop, you can stop it here, and you have your project. Limited, as you see all the tasks evolve, you get better control on the budget. So you sometimes in linear process, you say, okay, I wait 2 months for the modeling, but when I put it in my scene or in render, I discover that it's not enough and it's not good, so I have to go back. And so it's really hard to be sure that your budget would be okay and to transfer, I would say, money from one department to another. Limit, and yes, I would say it's limit the end production stress, because most of the time, when you have delay in the first steps, it will be more and more until the end. And as everything is more parallel, people can come earlier in the process, and it will avoid to have too much works to do in a short time at the end. Approval in context earlier in the process. So this avoid drastical late retakes that can be really expensive. Like when you work with it's more with American studios and things like this, they cannot approve the work if they don't see everything finished. So you can have a retake on your modeling character when you are at the compositing stage, because at the compositing, they see everything in context. So here, if you can show something more, not the final result, but something more representative at the beginning, you will avoid this kind of big retakes. And this is more pleasure for the director, who can really see everything in context. You can see your animation with a small lighting, with the set dress, with grass on the near, with the trees moving. You can see everything it's not possible in the linear process. Human resources. So what we think with this, and what we want to push to, is to have more generalist artists. The generalist artists are coming back in the workflow, as compared to the linear workflow, every task is splitted, and so it pushed to specialists. It will reduce the human resource needs, as we can merge tasks together. We can reduce the number of people to hire, but we will keep them longer, because they will work more longer. And in terms of involvement and in terms of meaning on the work, is going to be really better for people, because they are not assigned to really a specific task, like working in a factory. And so here you can develop your knowledge too, and you can work more in the global way. And it will limit the management resource, because for what I saw with a linear process and really pyramidal management, is that people most of the people, the graphists, don't really know how it will work after with the other department. They are so specialized that they don't really know how it works after. And so you need people to manage this and to say, okay, be careful to do this, this, this. As here, I will say the border are really blurred. They will communicate, they will talk together, and they will really have a better knowledge of all the next step. And the other thing is that we will need to train people, because it's hard to find people working on Unreal for the animation. It's the same on Blender. It starts to be better, but it's not the same. Here it was an experience. I was imagining how it will work for the same production in a real-time process compared to linear. And globally, what you see is that you can merge the previs and the layout, so you have less task. The lighting and the compo, only one. And you can have people earlier, and so you don't have you limit a bit the peak, to have many people coming on the project. And here, for the same, I was estimating as 350 days compared to 535 days. And you can see that here you have many, many people coming. And in terms of power consumptions, so it was important for us to go with this technology to try to reduce, because it will reduce. The real-time render, so reduce drastically the computer resource for the render. For example, I made a test, get a render coming from a series, and it took 35 minutes to render. And I'm not talking about the compositing, just the render. And to make it in Unreal, after the render took me 8 seconds. So 8 or 6 seconds, but I made a small calculation, and it was 260 times faster. So even if the computer needs for the real time are consuming more energy, it's really less at the end. And as it's real time, and as you can see everything in context, you reduce how many times you render in the linear process. You render some things, and you have to wait 1 day to see the render, and you say, oh no, I forgot this, or no, I don't see that in the middle of the shot the character is going through a stone or something like this. And here with the real time, you can check quickly and easily. So you have less computer to render, and so less air coin to cool down the farm. And as we merge the tasks together, so there is less task, and there is less approval steps, so less data to export, less render to do, less video to do, and so this is less things to create and to render. And in the IT part, so all this will push to less storage. For example, when you do the lighting with I say Arnold or something, Verre or something like this, and the render is pretty long, you don't want to re-render the things if you need just to adjust the character colors. So in the image, you push a lot of buffer as much as possible because you want to control everything. And your image for HD will be like 200 mega octet compared to more something like 20 when it's finished. So it's 10 times easier than the final render. So it's 10 times more to put in your hard disk. And as all the data are for the real-time render, everything is copied in local, so you don't have to I will say stress the server to call him all the time to say, I want this data, I want this data, I want this data. And if you are more and more on this, it's going to be really complex to the server. You need to buy big things, and you need ITs to maintain it. And so what I told you, we need more powerful computer for artists, but this can be compensated by the fact that they are working faster and more efficiency. Okay, thank you. That's done. Yeah.
Do you still have time for a few questions?
Yeah, yeah, of course, with pleasure.
You will be thrown out from Rebecca, so. Who has some questions? I have some questions. If you know, so I understood that you are an unconditional user of real-time process. I understand very well, but I have two questions. Maybe one is the answer to the other. The first one is that there are many people in animation who are not really convinced, and I know some school not far from where you live, where they are still teaching classical linear animation. What do you think it's how do you think their counterpart would justify that, or it's only that people of my age should be retired, so to let place to younger people? But if you are training younger people to the linear process, it will not stop. So what do you think about this change? And in your presentation, you didn't give any counterpart. Maybe yeah. there are some. And more generally, I would like to ask you if you see something which is general evolution under the technical and even this flow process, an evolution of the tools and the way that people who are making animation are changing.
Yes. So first of all, for the school, I think that the school have to be in sync with the industry. And in the industry, this is, I would say, 95% of the process is working as a linear workflow, because a big company spend a lot of money to develop their pipeline and to teach to the people how to work. And so it's hard. It's really the beginning for the transition. And I would say the tools, I'm talking about Unreal, it's real time, but it's not really simple to go in to learn it. It's really a huge software, and it's hard to see. And there is limitation in terms of rendering if you want to have something really specific. For example, for now, I have a few issues with reflection, but this is something that would be fixed. So this is not really secure, I would say, for big company for now. But I'm pretty confident that in a few years, it's gonna become the main process, especially for series. For now, I can say that for TV series, this is really efficient. For most of the TV series, you can really do something really cool. And the time that you will win, the energy that you will win, especially when you have to reduce your consumption, it's really important. And in terms of the linear process is something really, I would say, really working well, because all the really great movies or films that you can see are made like this, and you can produce really high image. The fact is, for me, is more than it's a process really hard, and it's honestly most of the time you have the feeling to be in a factory to work. And so you have to hire really different kind of people, but you can, sometimes it's more simplest to find someone who can only do modeling, and it's really harder to find seniors or generalists. So this is a counterpoint for the real-time things, that is going to be hard to get people who can work on different kind of stuff. But the idea is to teach them and to keep them as much as possible. I hope that with this technology, you will be able to keep people more in your company. Don't say, okay, the modeling is finished. You are working so well, but I have to say goodbye to you. And maybe in 6 months, you will come back. Oh no, as you are a good one, you work for another company. And and I don't have the chance to work with you. So here the idea is to say that you can keep the people. And yeah, I don't know if I answer to.
Yeah, yes. I was thinking when you are talking that maybe there will be more programmers in animation company to make plugin for a new effect in Unreal, but programmers are rare and expensive.
Yeah, but for what I see, you know, you can do many things with, for example, the blueprint scripting in Unreal. You don't really need to be a developer, but you need to be technical, but don't really know the language.
Well, we're trying to make this kind of guys here. Somebody has a question?
Yes, Stefan said that we need perhaps programmers in the workflow, but AI, I heard about AI, you can script in Blender or some, yes, the position, the rotation, or the position of object into the rendering. Is it a possibility you see now?
What do you mean
The script when you can script the different localization of a certain object or the shape, and then you script with AI a script.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed about the speed of the AI improvement, and yeah, I think we will have a drastic changes in a few years. But we can see that now we can create volume modeling with just prompt. It's not really perfect, but when I see how Mid-Journey or something like this is evolving since the last 6 months, it's you know, it's a mix between scaring and just marvelous. So you don't really know what to think about it, but what we can say and what I deeply think is that it's gonna change totally the workflow. I think next year we can do another another meeting and talking about this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ah non, ça y est.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Alexandre.
Merci, merci.
Well, I fear we are very near from the end of this first issue of the seminar. Once more, I have to thank everybody, every expert who are here in the auditorium or behind the screen. Thank you very much to all. I have to thank once more Ennjmin and AZ and MK and AZ for all the efforts to organize this first issue and this first session. Thanks to Alfredo and to our friends from Tec de Monterrey. To recall that we will see in next April. The date is not completely defined, but it's near 17 as April the 17th. I mean, okay, is it correct? Okay. I don't risk to summarize all the very rich and fruitful exchanges and rich contents we exchange during these 3 days. Maybe Alfredo, you want to conclude for us?
No, I don't know if to conclude, but only to say thank you to everybody. It has been a very, very important experience for all of us, for Dorian, Jacinto, and me. We'll have the opportunity to share this experience with our colleagues in Mexico, in Tec de Monterrey. We have learned a lot. And we are very, very thankful for with all of yours, Stefan, Max, Jan, Juan Cristobal, Jan Christophe, Frederick, and all the teams, all the speakers, all the people that have been with us. We really have been very, very good for us. The possibility after that to not only to finish the idea about the master, to increase our relationship is I feel very close, and we have a very big compromise with that. Thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you to everybody, every participant, and see you in April, next April. Stefan?
I would like also to thank the technical and administrative support of Enjmin, who was very efficient to make. Thank you, and see you later, alligator.